Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, the tale of the slick boss, the botched upgrade, and the coup. You stored your templates and projects where? Did not do what he was asked to do, cost him his job. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. The tale of the slick boss, the botched upgrade, and the coup. Normally I space my stories out a bit more, but I'm feeling inspired. This tale happens a number of years ago, when I was starting my career. Enter a large software company, Software Company, and one of our customers, Customer ABC. Customer ABC has a huge footprint with our software on it, over 1,000 servers, and depends on our applications to run their entire business. If certain applications are down or not functioning properly, everything grinds to a halt. This is especially key because they are high volume with revenue, over $10 billion, but with very thin profit margins. Their chief competitors operate with almost no profit too, so avoiding unplanned downtime is key. They are also in a highly regulated industry, meaning accuracy of records and crossing T's/dotting I's for regulatory purposes is absolutely critical, and data consistency is king. They are running a key application that we don't even sell to our customers. It is offered for free, within the cost of licensing/support for everything else. On the existing version they are on, they are using it to document and approve changes for their system. This means this application, although not business-facing, is relevant as a system of record, particularly for Sarbanes-Oxley (SOX) compliance reasons. They need to go to a new version in order to properly monitor their systems for exceptions/performance issues, and the new framework for this requires an application upgrade. I have just started my career. I've been involved with a few customers, but this is the first time I am being on site to do my type of work, and the first time I have been billable to the customer, e.g. the customer pays for my time. Names have been changed to protect the innocent/guilty. $fun times with X equals me. Bob equals my co-worker. Experienced, soft but well-spoken, well-organized, and a really nice guy. Mike equals technical guy number 1 working on the upgrade. Joe equals technical guy number 2 working on the upgrade. Alex equals Mike and Joe's boss, in charge of the technical resources for our company's software is used by customer ABC. Teflon equals nickname for Alex's boss, IT director. Steve equals VP level representing the business, and in charge of Teflon. The upgrade that wasn't. So over the course of about 2 months, we worked through all the prerequisites. We spend about 4 weeks reconfiguring a non-production system copy after the targeted upgrade, making sure that the change control functionality they relied on in the past version still works, and that the new monitoring functionality that they want to use on the new version does too. We document all of the patches, setup steps, etc. in the document. I quickly notice a trend. Mike is a nice guy who is diligent on doing steps and documenting them properly. Do A if I say to do A, and avoid B if I say not to do B. But Joe, Mike's colleague, and Alex, boss of Mike and Joe, both want to take shortcuts. By shortcuts I mean ask if they can do things in a less time-consuming manner. Sometimes this is permissible, but most of the time it isn't. On phone calls and in-person discussions I tell them that they should not do A, B, and C for reasons X, Y, and Z. Guess what Joe does? Joe does A, B, and C, and claims to Alex and Teflon that I told him to do it. This puts our company, the software vendor, in the hot seat. Confused and upset, keep in mind I'm absolutely green/new here on dealing with customers. I go to my senior co-worker Bob. Bob explains to me that our internal nickname for Teflon is Teflon because nothing ever sticks to him. He always finds a way to twist the context to either blame his business for delays/issues, weren't approved fast enough, changes requested were not properly specified, etc., or the software company, software had bug, even if it was a misapplied procedure or patch, software trouble ticket processing by us on an issue was slow, etc., or other parts of IT, e.g. network, sysadmins, etc. Bob tells me he'll get the current issue settled down. It wasn't as big of a deal because it was fixable, and that to avoid the same issue over the coming weeks, I should document all of my recommendations in writing. Once burned and twice shy, I do so. Documenting my recommendations on a regular basis wasn't enough either. If I told Joe and Alex not to do something in person or on the phone, it immediately had to go to them with Teflon and Bob and CC on the email documenting that I told them not to do whatever for a reason. Over the course of the next 4 weeks, I collect over 200 emails specifically of this type, excluding status update emails, meeting invites, etc. Things are ironed out in the non-prod copy and the actual non-production now, and they are planning for their upgrade in mid-December, before everyone goes on freeze and giving them time to work out issues before year-end close. Well, long story short, they did not listen to key advice, certain changes to be made, things to check, when to perform certain steps, started them late. We start the upgrade in production and it's slow. There are a few issues, but we have people assigned 24/7 over the weekend to get them through it. We are confident that we can make up the time and have the system productive on Monday morning. Teflon pulls the plug on Saturday and immediately blames us for the failed upgrade to his business and the leadership of my company, software provider. Coworker Bob warns me to start being prepared to summarize the whole situation. Boss asks me what the hell happened. I tell my boss the short version: they botched their own upgrade, they did things that were not supported, and if he sent me back to that customer, I would look for a different job. The situation temporarily dies down when Teflon gets caught in a bit of a trouble spot. We asserted that we had confidence that we could make up time. Teflon eventually calms the business down by saying he did not want there to be risk, and they could reapproach the upgrade in 3 months. Steve, Teflon's boss, has suspicions that Teflon is not telling the whole story. The botched upgrade. Well, 3 months later approaches. A coworker is sent to the customer instead of me, and they reattempt the upgrade. To keep all the relevant upgrade/config going as quickly as possible over the weekend, Mike and Joe from the customer are working opposite 12-hour shifts. In the middle of the night, Joe upgrades a patch level on one part of the application relating to the monitoring. He goes to a version he was specifically told, multiple times verbally and in writing, not to do. This is missed until a few days later, when they go to set up the monitoring and nothing is working. Problem is, the part of the application he upgraded it to the wrong version. Different patch levels within one part of the application are changed to accommodate for changes in another. When Joe misapplied the patch level, another part of the application key for the monitoring to work was not in step. Patches to the part of application he patched were not designed to be reversible, leaving you with 2 options. 1. Upgrade every other component patch level to consistency. This would require another, smaller, upgrade over a weekend, and one where all the functionality would need to be updated on config and retested. This was not possible immediately because of their reliance on the functionality to approve/document/move changes to their business applications. This could not happen for another 4 to 5 months. Meaning they could not set up the new monitoring productively, for at least this period of time. 2. Restore to a database backup before the inconsistent patch was applied. This upgrade was on the lower major release, before the much bigger upgrade, and reverting would lose documents required under SOX, so this was not an option either. Teflon is in the hot seat due to shortcomings with the older monitoring solution and a server OS migration from AIX to Linux that has not been absolutely smooth. He immediately flings sh*t at the software company, trying to say that we told them to do all the wrong steps. This ends up in a 2-month-long, very long, email chain in which they would make assertions that I said it was okay to do A, B, and C, and then I would reply with a ton of people in CC attaching the emails where I specifically and explicitly told them not to do those things and why. Teflon then asks my management when I, personally, would be coming back to their office. Management says I am on another assignment, but they can provide another resource. Management's faith that I did the right thing is kept up by the documentation chain, and they close the issue there, putting me on a new highly visible assignment on a key project as a reward. That customer was much better to deal with. The aftermath and the coup. Teflon realizes that blaming me on my area, the setup and monitoring of the application isn't going to work. So Teflon must devise a new master plan to avoid blame and look good. Portions of the change control functionality were customized on the prior version by a third-party consulting firm many years ago, a project lead by Steve, Teflon's boss at this time, but previously in Teflon's role. Teflon crafts a plan to discuss this with key management at the business of his customer, ultimately succeeding in completely blindsiding Steve by misconstruing the issue with the misapplied patch as something that did not work with the customization to the change control functionality, and that they were so poorly done/maintained/documented that it led to all of the issues. Teflon spin works, Steve is out, and Teflon takes his job as a promotion. Teflon becomes even more of a B***starred in the new role. Soft-spoken, well-mannered Bob pushes back against Teflon's bullsh**T even more, eventually ending in a yelling match between Bob and Teflon where Bob packed up his laptop, handed in his building access badge at the front desk, and flew home, never to return. Knowing how totally and completely uncharacteristic this is for Bob, an employee with nothing but positive accolades for over a decade, Bob is put on another assignment and they bring someone in to take over. Management gets involved to rekey expectations/the relationship. Mike, the good technical resource from the customer, asks for advice on brushing up his resume with the new experience he had from my time there. I do so. Mike is swiftly hired by another multi-billion-dollar company in a promotion. He is now in charge of people doing work like his previous role. Teflon realizes that having the IT department as direct hires means that he's liable for any mistakes they make, whereas if he contracts everyone from an outsourcer, he can always ultimately blame the outsourcer. So within a year of Teflon assuming his new role, a third-party outsourcer brings in candidates almost entirely on visa to take the onshore positions in the US. They had outsourced much work before that. Mike and Joe's old boss, Alex, talks to a few people at my company and ultimately is able to land a role similar to mine at the software company. I've worked with him a few times and he's been good. The rest of the IT resources at the customer are laid off. You stored your templates and projects where? So this is a story from when I was working for a local regional tax firm. I was the director of technology. Our company with 300 employees, only tech-related employee, and this was around 2016, we were still running Windows 7. I can usually tell if people have worked in IT just by their response to this story. People who have just shrug and tell their own story, people who have not either laugh thinking I'm joking around or, in several cases, outright call me liar. Anyways, so my office phone rings. Mid-level executive on the other end states computer is extremely slow and refusing to save documents. Great. This user is located in the building and she basically handles anything related to records keeping or printed materials etc. Basically her use case is word processing all day long, along with some related tasks under Chrome. Nothing else. So I'm needless to say wondering what she could have done to cripple her computer, which I personally had upgraded to a SMT quad and doubled the RAM earlier that year when it was decided her and 3 other execs needed better PCs. I march over there and her PC has apparently crashed, blue-screened by the description given, and restarted by the time I get there. Upon further examination I can find no issues other than moderately low disk space, 5 GB free, and the computer seems to be running acceptably, so I tell her to call me back if it begins acting up again, as I had assumed the issue was related to long uptime without a restart, a major issue due to the nature of some of the software we were using, and marked her computer to receive a larger HDD that weekend as I believe it was only a 80 GB drive. Such an upgrade it is more or less impossible to achieve during the work week. Anyways, I head back to my office and 15 minutes later my phone rings again, and it's her again. This time she sounds frantic, and more or less demands I return to her office immediately, not technically a power she has, but I have nothing else of priority going on, and it unfortunately is my problem when the computers start acting up, so I march back down to her office. It's worth noting it unusual for this person to demand anything. She's actually usually rather pleasant to deal with. She states her computer is now running fine, but all of her project files, templates, forms, designs, etc., are missing. The gears start turning, and I ask her where she stores her project files. She says, well, I just save them in the same place I always do when the save thingy pops up. So I open Word, type some gibberish, and open the Save As dialog box. My heart stops. She's using Recycle Bin to store everything. Or was anyways. It looks like when her computer finally crashed, it was due to exhausting available HDD and memory resources, and because it went through the auto troubleshoot steps Windows 7 had built in before I got there, it emptied the Recycle Bin to free disk space in order to save itself. I inform her that Recycle Bin is a folder that is meant for files you don't intend to use. Was never designed to be a working directory. All of her files are gone. For good. This company had a small NAS for backups, but it was users' responsibility to store what they felt was important there. It was low capacity and quite slow, being an older unit, and I never could convince the C-suite to allocate funds to upgrade it, and she had declined to. At first she appears to not even comprehend what I'm saying and keeps trying to say, but there has to be a way to get them back, and when I finally make her understand what I'm saying, that everything is gone and she is back to square one with everything. She says, oh my God, I can't. How will I? Okay, and I can tell she's pretty much on the verge of tears. Needless to say, the CEO showed up in my office later that day and wanted an explanation of what happened and what could be done to prevent it in the future. My recommendations were not using Recycle Bin to store documents. The analogy I used was, imagine if you stored your important documents in a trash bin and the janitor emptied it while you were away. That's what just happened, except Windows was the janitor and he threw them straight into the burn pile. Requiring a basic 1-hour computer literacy class for every employee using in presentation to cover big. If you do this, you will F***CKS over things. Decline for being insulting to our employees. Upgrading our backup system, decline due to cost. This is just a single story from my time in this place. I left after 2 years because the pay was terrible, $425 a week salaried, and the hours kept getting longer, and quite frankly the C-suite was hostile to IT. In an unintentional way, in that they did not understand we need money to function correctly, like preventative stuff, instead of just fixing whatever breaks when it breaks and hoping it does not completely foobar everything while breaking. Did not do what he was asked to do, cost him his job. Years ago I ran the local office of a third-party repair firm in my city. We were a national company in Canada. As a result, we had contracts with companies with offices all over. One day I get a call from a branch manager at a company a 3-hour drive away. Each way. Apparently the terminal at the reception desk is not working. Yes, it was that long ago. It was a terminal, CRT, hooked to their main computer. The manager identified himself, told me the receptionist was not in this morning, and he needed to use the terminal to get some information, etc. I looked up his account and the type of terminal. I then asked him if there was a green power light in the bottom right corner. Of course, he said yes. I then asked him if he could see a knob on the base sticking up from the right-hand side on the front. He said yes. I was a bit suspicious of how fast he responded. He would answer right away. No pause, nothing. But I continued as I did not want to make a 6-hour round-trip drive. I then asked him if he could hear a high-pitched whine coming from the CRT. This type of CRT, when the brightness is turned all the way down, would emit a noticeable high-pitched whine. He said he cannot hear anything and needs it to work. He is getting more irritated and just told me to get someone down there right away to fix the issue and stop wasting his time. I then advised him, as is standard, if we have a tech come out and there is nothing wrong, he will be responsible for a minimum 6-hour billing plus on-site time. Shouting, he said to get someone down here as soon as possible and get it working since it is broken. He then slammed down the phone. Grabbing a full replacement terminal, toolkit, testing gear, etc., I loaded up my car and started driving to this site. Before leaving, I called my head office and advised them I was heading out on this long drive and would be unavailable for at least 3 hours, but would touch base with them when I got to the client. Age before cell phones, I had a voice pager important. When I got to the client site, I walked in. As soon as I stepped in the building, I could hear the high-pitched whine. Looking to my left, I saw the terminal, power light, etc. at the reception desk, but a blank screen. I looked around, saw another employee sitting a distance away. I identified myself, held up my ID card, then reached over and turned the brightness knob. There, on the screen, was the login for their system. The employee came over, leaned closer and said to me, "I could hear his entire call with you this morning. He was talking so loud into the phone. And he never came out of his office." After he slammed his phone down, he said loudly to me, "They are sending an idiot tech to fix the terminal." He wanted me to do his testing for him. She had a big satisfied grin on her face, and then went and told him I was there. His office was way across the building. When he came out, I explained the problem was the brightness was down all the way. And also said how strange it was he could not hear the high-pitched whine when he tried it this morning while on the phone. He turned a nice shade of red but said nothing. I then advised him he will be billed for the service call as, due to the heat coming from the terminal, I could tell it had been on for many hours. I then brought up the internal diagnostic from the terminal on screen, which showed how many hours it had been since the last time it was turned off. It had not been turned off for weeks. I suspected the receptionist using the terminal just turned the brightness down when she left at the end of the day. I wrote up the service call, he signed it, and I left. When the typical steaming pile hit the fan when this company's head office saw the bill, it was easily explained. I played on the phone the recording I had made of the phone call and what the person at the office told me when I got there. I had a voice pager, and as a result would use the recorder to record the voice page if I was driving when it came in. I also used it at other times. Yes, we are one-party consent. When this was heard, the person from the head office side said, "Not again. I will approve the billing." We were paid. 2 months later, I was in the city again visiting other clients, and had enough time to drop in and say hi at this client. Not planned. The receptionist was there as well as the other person who I talked to last time. This other person was grinning. I asked to speak to the manager of the branch and was told he was no longer employed there. Apparently, he was let go within a week of the service call. He was also one of those managers, to make his bottom line look good, did not want to pay for a spare terminal to have on site to use just in case. I found out later he had pulled this stunt before with other service techs for other equipment, and I guess the company finally had enough of his antics and let him go. I met the new manager, went over a bunch of things, showed him how to hook up the brand new spare terminal if needed, and left. All in all, a great day.